Hi guys, welcome to Cracku's YouTube channel. I hope you all are doing well. In this video, we will be looking at everything that is to know about the exam SNAP. Now, SNAP, as we know, is an exam which is conducted by the Symbiosis Institutes. It's used as an entrance test. It's an OMAT. Basically, it's used as an entrance test for the Symbiosis Institutes. So, in this video, we will basically be looking at what is the pattern, like what is the eligibility criteria, how do we register for SNAP, and also we'll have a detailed outlook on what the syllabus is. So yeah, let's get started. So a basic overview, SNAP stands for Symbiosis National Aptitude Test, SNAP. So it is for the 17 Symbiosis International Universities. Of those universities, the best colleges are SIBM Pune, SCMHRD, this is very much known for HR, and SIBM Bangalore among the others. Now, how do we register for the exam? Obviously, you need to go to Snapka website. From there, you'll find the link. So you need to register for the test. You need to pay the registration fee. The registration fee is 22,500 per test. So SNAP as an exam is conducted 3 times. There is no normalization though. So each time if you want to appear, you can appear for all the 3 times. Each time you need to pay 2250, and then there is like an additional 1000 rupees per program. So basically, like if you are choosing say MBA in SIBM Pune, then you need to pay 1000. If you need to some other program in SCMHRD or some other college, you need to pay additional 1000 rupees for that. And eligibility, if we talk about it, you need to have a bachelor's degree from a recognized university in India with a 50% marks, 45% for SC and ST people. There is no age bar though, and the final year students can also apply. Now let's understand the paper as such. So the paper SNAP, I would say, is the shortest exam if you compare it with any of the other OMATs. It's just 60 minutes, 60 questions in 60 minutes. So it's like per question you get 1 minute. So that tells me something, the questions are not going to be something very difficult, and that is the case with SNAP. The questions are not very difficult. It is a game of accuracy, it is a game of speed. The faster you are, the more accurately you are able to answer the questions, the better score you get, and the better score obviously means the better college, right? The marking scheme goes +1 and -0.25. So for every correct answer you get a +1, and for every incorrect you incur a loss of 0.25. So, and the exam, as we said, is conducted thrice. Best of the 3 is chosen for final evaluation. So there is no normalization in SNAP, unlike CAD, which is conducted across 3 slots. So there is some normalization process, right? In SNAP, there is not there. So for the 3 times, you can appear in all of the 3. Obviously, you'll have to pay the 22,500. So let's say you're appearing for 3 times for all the 3 slots. You'll have to pay 2250, 2250, 2250. And the thing is, the best score that you get from all the 3 attempts, that score is chosen as your final score, and based on that, all the percentiles and everything is calculated. There is no normalization. Best of the 3 is chosen. Talking about the sections, there are 3 sections for SNAP. First, we have the general English section, which has 15 questions, and obviously that would also mean, because it's a +1 -25, so 15 marks from here. We have quantitative data interpretation and data sufficiency. From here, we have 20 questions. And the biggest section, analytical and logical reasoning, this one has 25 questions. So a total of 60 questions. In 60 minutes, there are no sectional limits or anything. You can toggle between sections, obviously. And yeah, that is it. That is the basic exam pattern for SNAP. Next, if we look into the marks versus percentile data, this is an approximated data. So what we notice is usually 95 is somewhere around this. SNAP 2025, slot 1 was like relatively easier. So the marks actually, the other slots were also easy if you compare to the previous SNAPs. So the cutoffs actually went a little higher if you compare it with the others. But these are the expected. Now, 98.5 actually becomes an important score here because SIBM Pune, for the interviews and all, the cutoff is 98.5, and for that you need somewhere around 44 to 46. So a safe score in SNAP would be somewhere around like a 40 plus. So if you're scoring somewhere around 40 plus, you'll basically ensure like you are north of 95, which would ensure ki may not be SIBM Pune, but other colleges ka calls you'll get from SNAP. There are no sectional cutoffs or anything. So that is another good thing about SNAP. Ki all you need to do is like, do the best, do most of the questions so that you get a good score. And once you get a good score, that automatically translates to a good percentage. Yeah. Now looking into the top colleges, we have SIBM Pune. SIBM Pune requires a 98 to 98.5 percentile ka cutoff. SCMHRD is known for its HR programs. The core MBA requires a 97.5. HRM requires 95 to 96. We have a few other colleges as well. We have SIBM Bengaluru. We have SIIB Pune, which is like international business. IB ka program hai. We have SIOM, which is for operations, and we have SCIT, which is MBA in like IT business management. So this requires around a 75 to 78%. So obviously, all the people who are appearing for SNAP, these are like the target colleges that they target for, right? SIBM Pune, which is the best in the lot, and SCMHRD. Next, if we talk about the syllabus, so as we said, the syllabus is divided basically into three parts, three sections in the paper. One is general English, then we have the analytical and logical reasoning, and then we have the Quant QDIDS section. Talking about the general English, we have 15 questions from here. General English mein we get reading comprehension, verbal reasoning, and verbal ability. Now, one thing that we've noticed with SNAP for the last 2-3 years is that there aren't a lot of RC questions. So, and if you're someone who's preparing for CAT, RCs are like a big deal there. But in SNAP, RCs are not that big of a deal. So, and like we didn't see any questions last year as well. More questions are centered around these two. So we have verbal reasoning. Verbal reasoning is basically critical reasoning here, you can say. We have things like assumptions, we have things like strength and weaken, we have things like course of action, ki like which of the premises given to us, we need to figure out which of these actions logically follows from them. We have statements and conclusions, ki like a passage is given, we need to figure out what conclusion can be drawn from it. We have cause and effect, like two activities or two things are given to us, two actions are given to us. We need to figure out which is the cause, which is the effect, or if both of them are like effects for one singular cause, or there is like no relation. All those kind of questions. Inferences like small passage given to us, and we have to figure out what can be logically inferred from this. And yeah, so this is basically the verbal reasoning part. The reasoning is not very difficult. I mean, if you are someone who's preparing for other, let's say that or something, you would have prepared a lot of reasoning. In SNAP, we do require to learn. We need to learn like what are the types of questions we need to learn, like what kind of questions we can expect. But it's not very difficult to learn. That is a good thing. SNAP as a whole, the exam is not something which is very difficult to prepare for, because conceptually the concepts are not that demanding. But that being said, you do need to have great accuracy, you do need to have like great time control, like you need to be very fast while solving questions, because SNAP as an exam is a game of accuracy and speed. So yeah, while these are not very demanding topics, but you need to like dekh ke hi only you have to answer. Like there's not a lot of time to think and contemplate. The next part is verbal ability. Now here we do need to learn some stuff. Here we can have something like vocabulary based synonyms, antonyms, fill in the blanks, phrases and idioms. So synonyms, antonyms, so we know like if a word is given, this can be given something like this, like those kind of constructs, like something like if A is B, C is what? Right, in these kind of things, we need to figure out the relation between A and B. and then we need to figure out this missing word as well. Uh, the relations between A and B, they can be something about synonyms, antonyms, they can be other kind of relations also. Basically analogies, synonyms, antonyms directly they very less ask, but they can come as analogies also. Fill in the blanks is basically like a sentence is given and words are taken out from it and options are given. Obviously, you need to figure out which is the correct fit for the sentence. Next, phrases and idioms. They can give a phrase and they can ask you what is the meaning of this phrase, or like they can give a phrase in a sentence and they ask you like what is the meaning. From a sentence, it's like much easier to answer it because from the context you kind of get an idea what the phrase is talking about. But just giving the phrase standalone, that can be a bit challenging. Then we have some grammar key things also. We have identifying the parts of speech. Basically, what are parts of speech? Parts of speech is like a sentence is given to us, and each word in the sentence is performing some work, right? It can be a noun, it can be a pronoun, it can be a verb if it's an action, noun if it's a naming word, it can be an adjective if it's like qualifying for something. It can be a preposition, it can be an adverb. So basically, we need to figure out what the part of speech is. Now these can come in a different pattern as well. What they can do is like they use the same word and they use it in multiple sentences, and then they can ask you to match like in which sentence, like say if I have something like Sham is the best student. Let's say this is one sentence where I'm using best, and in another sentence I'm using something like Sham bested me in the duel. So they can give four sentences like this where they're using the same word best, and they can ask you, okay, where is best working as what? Like here it's a verb because it's like telling us what's the action, and here it's an adjective because best student, what kind of student. So basically something like that. In parts of speech we can get. Figures of speech are also important for snap. Figures of speech can be something like metaphors, synonyms, soliloquy. It can be something like literatus, and all those kind of things. So they can give a sentence and they can ask you what is the figure of speech that has been used here, like the leaves rustled, the wind whispered, those kind of things. Those are like onomatopoeia, right? Like describing sounds, or like he was like a lion in the fight, so you're comparing the person to a lion, so that is like a metaphor. So those kind of things are actually they come. One question you can expect from those kind of things. Next we have parajumbles. Parajumbles are different from cat here. Parajumbles, they can be of two types. One can be they give you four sentences, but they'll give options. Obviously, you don't need to type in the answer. They'll give you options. You need to figure out what is the correct order based on the options. Or they can sometimes also do like a sentence is given to you. Sentence has been fragmented into different parts. You need to figure out what is the correct order in which the sentence can be. So it can be a para jumble also, it can be a sentence jumble also in that sense. And we also have grammar and sentence based corrections. Error detection, ki like a sentence is given to us, it has been divided into several parts. We need to figure out which part has an error. What is the error we don't need to figure out, but we only need to identify where the error is. Now, with sentence grammar and sentence correction, a lot of students have this key like, okay, we have not done grammar for like a lot of time. The last time we did it was like in class 10. So how do we cope with this? So what happens is they have a very predictable nature. So what we have done here at Cracku is like we've compiled a list of all the things that we basically need to check for. Like it can be a subject verb error, it can be a tense ka error, it can be something about preposition, it can be something about parallelism. So we have this list. So what we can do basically is like run the sentence through the list one after the other, and okay, let's say we check for subject verb agreement, and like there is no subject verb agreement error, so we can cross that out. So that is the idea. Like we check for each of them one by one, and we'll obviously find some error in the sentence, and then we mark that part. So these were like, some small hacks. There are a lot more from where it came from. So if you guys are someone who are like seriously aspiring to do well in Snap, do check out our Snapka. These were like one of the a few small tricks. There's a lot more where that came from. So if you're someone who's like seriously aspiring to do well in Snap, do check out our Cracku course. We have a dedicated Snap and NMAT course where we basically take you through everything that is there to know about Snap. Like how are we supposed to approach each and every question? How can we maximize our score output while not losing on time? All the strategies and along with the concepts that are required to do well in Snap. So yeah, if you're someone who's a serious aspirant, do check us out. The link will be there in the description. Okay, moving on. Next, we have this section, analytical and logical reasoning. This is the biggest section. We have 25 questions, which means 25 marks from here. What do we have here? We can have puzzles, sitting arrangements, blood relations, and directions. Sitting arrangements as in like a small puzzle, basically. A cannot sit with B, C and D must be together. A small caselet of a sort, and then they'll ask questions. So that is puzzles. They'll not have a very long arrangements cassette, obviously, because it's like a 1 mark per question thing, right? So they are not going to be very taxing in terms of the logical abilities. Blood relations, so we understand ki A said to B, like, you are the brother of my father, of my, all that kind of they'll make a tree out of it. So blood relations are there. And next we have direction sense. Ki like Ravi started from a point, he walked 40 kilometers north, and then he took a right and he walked some more kilometers, then he again took a left and walked some more kilometers. Then like, what is the distance, or like what direction is he facing now? All that kind of questions. Next, we have series and sequences. They are alphanumeric series and sequences. They are not like the AP-GP progression wala thing. They can be APs and GPs also. The thing is, there will be a pattern associated. We need to identify the pattern. Like what is being operated here. There can be a series like say 2. This is an AP. There can be something like 2. So here what's happening is +3, then +4, then +5. So the next term will be +6. So the next term should be 20. So this is like a very simple example, but like, yeah, it can be alphanumeric as well. Like they will not give you numbers. Instead, they can give you like letters and all that stuff. Letters as in like it can be something like say if A is coded as something, then how do we do other things? Those kind of questions. And that also brings us to coding decoding. Coding decoding can have those things like if fan is coded as like AFG, then word will be some other word. So basically you need to figure out the relation of the word that is given, and from there you need to figure out. It can be number based also, and it can be symbol based. Symbol based as in like some symbols mean something, and then you are given some other different symbol. You need to figure out what it is going to be, but the crux remains same. All we need to do in these kind of questions is like figure out the underlying logic, like what is the rule or what is the logic that is governing the example that is given to us. And once we figure that out, we just need to transpose and apply it on the question that is asked. These can be a little challenging. I mean, what happens with verbal and quants also for that matter is that you either do it or you don't do it. Here you can get stuck. So this is the section where it is always advised to give the most time. What we need to do is first finish up with our verbal and quants, because those are relatively easier to solve and finish. After that, we should devote the time to ALR. We have syllogisms, analogies, and deductive logic. Syllogisms and analogies are basically that if bear is you have something like if bear is brown, then crow is what? So bear and brown, we understand it's like the color of the animal. So crow can be black, something like that. These are syllogisms. So Analogies, similar context. We can have something called input-output problems. Input-output problems is like they'll give you a sequence. They'll give you like, we entered this in a system and we got something else, and they'll give you 3 or 4 intermediate steps also. You'll basically have to figure out what is the machine doing. And like if I have something like I enter something like A1 3B in the machine, right? And in the first step they are giving us the output to be 1 3 AB. In the next step they are giving us the output. We basically need to figure out what's happening. So what's happening here is, this is the entry. In the first step, everything is moved this side. So this comes to be 1 3BA, and then the last one is interchanged. So in the first step, this is the output. Second step means similar thing is happening. It should be 3AB1, right? If I just shift everything one side here, and then this we are exchanging. So this is like, a basic example of an input output thing, where we need to identify what is the operation that is being applied, and then based on that they'll give you like, what will be the next output, and that we need to figure out. These are input output problems. And we have Venn diagrams, analogies, clocks and calendars, and cube based puzzles. Venn diagrams, so we understand draw them ki, like if 30 people like coffee and 25 people like tea, then how many people like both tea and coffee, that kind of questions. Analogies, acha we discussed. Clocks, calendars, clocks and calendars are very favorite for them, like they'll ask 1 or 2 questions every year. Clocks is like it can be something like time losing, it can be something like the angle between the clocks, like if the time is 7:28, then what is the angle between the hour hand and the minute hand. Time reducing can be something like a clock loses for every hour it loses 1 second, doesn't like it's getting slower and slower. So in that, or like if it's getting faster and faster, those kind of questions, like if the clock is like getting faster, or if it's getting slower, then at the end of 5 hours or something, what is the time going to be? Those kind of questions come from clocks. Calendars, if 15th January to 1995 was a Sunday, then what will be the day for 25th August 1987 or something? Those kind of questions. Cube based problems can be about painting the cube. Like we have a big cube which has been painted on all the sides, and then it has been cut into say 64 smaller cubes. So in that case we have to figure out how many cubes will be there such that one side is only painted, or like for the smaller cube one side of the cube is painted, or like no sides are painted. Those kind of questions can come from there. So yeah, as we were saying, the ALR is the section where we need to put the efforts, because these can be a little challenging, because you don't very directly see the pattern unless and until you have practiced a lot of questions. You kind of have to tune your brain like, okay, these are the kind of things, these are the kind of possibilities which I can get, and based on that I'll prepare accordingly. So again, if you're someone who's a serious snap aspirant, you can definitely check out our SnapK mocks. We make sure that these mocks are very much coded to what actual snap is. We make sure that all the question types and everything is held, and the questions are also like at par snap level. So yeah, you can like check out our SnapK mocks as well. The link will be there in the description. Do check it out. Now moving on to the third section for the exam, we have the QDIDS and DS. Now this one has 20 questions, which means this is 20 marks. The syllabus is kind of similar to every other OMET, every other exam, like CAT also for that matter. Everything in quants that you will be learning, that is the same thing. But there is a difference, obviously. The difference being ki in CAT, you will need to apply a lot of logic. The questions can be harder, the questions can be much lengthier. In Snap, they do give lengthy questions, but they are very few and far between. Like of the 20 questions, there can be 2 or 3 which actually take a lot of your time. There can be 4 or 5 which are like medium difficulty, but most, like the bulk of things, like 8, 9, 10 questions will be such they are easy to very easy. So as you know, the Symbiosis institutes, they also know ki we want, because we are having a very short duration for exam, it's just 60 minutes. So obviously they are not going to subject you to very hard questions which take up a lot of your time. Rather, they want you to see how fast you are with your calculations, how good you are with the accuracy of things. So discussing the syllabus, we have arithmetic. Arithmetic has time, speed and distance, time and work, percentages, profit and loss, ratio, proportion, averages, SICI, mixtures and allegations. Pretty simple, pretty much boilerplate, we can say. Like, these are the kind of questions you actually get in all the domains. Algebra may we have linear and quadratic equations, inequalities. Um, Number system has divisibility, LCM, HCF, base system, reminders. Uh, Reminders and base systems are basically like, if 3 to the power 1013 is divided by 7, then what will be the remainder? Those kind of questions. And base system is like, binary, decimal, hexadecimal, octal, all that stuff. Like if 38 is expressed in base 10, then what will it be in base 2? So you need to basically convert it from a decimal to a binary, and that gives you the answer. Geometry has lines, angles, triangles, circles, and mensuration. Again, pretty boilerplate. There's not a lot of coordinate geometry here, which is a good thing. And there's not a lot of trigonometry as well. So coordinate geometry is not there. We have lines and angles, we have triangles, and mensuration. Mensuration is areas and volumes. Like if I have a square park and I want to say like put a fencing around it, what length of fencing do I need? So we need to figure out the perimeter. Or like if I have a square room and I want to fit it with tiles, then and tiles cost, let's say, some 30 rupees per square meter or something, then how much money am I spending? So basically you need to figure out the area and stuff. So those kind of questions come in mensuration. Then we have modern math. In modern math, we have PNC, probability, set theory, and progression. PNC, we understand like in how many ways 5 people can be chosen from a class of 30 people or something that way. Probability, what is the probability that when you roll a die, you actually get an even number? Those kind of questions. And we have progressions. Progressions are arithmetic progressions, geometric progressions. Up to that, we don't need special progressions like AGPs or like telescopic series, all that. No, basic arithmetic progression, geometric progression is enough for SNAP. Finally, we have the DI section: pie charts, bar charts, line graphs, tables, and caselets. Caselets, like small cases given to you, and you need to figure out like whatever they're asking. It can be just calculation based also. Now in SNAP, we have data sufficiency questions as well. Data sufficiency questions are different from normal questions, but the concepts that are required remains the same. But what is the data sufficiency question? A data sufficiency question is basically like a problem is given to you, and then two statements are given. Let's say Ramu goes from town A to town B with a speed of 30 kilometers per hour. He takes 8, and then we have two sentences. One sentence says he takes 18 minutes to do it, and the second sentence says ki like Ramu can do something else or something that. So in a data sufficiency question, what we need to, they'll ask, if we want to solve this question, do I require statement 1 or do I require statement 2 or do I require both of them? Or even if I use both of them, if I'm still able to solve it or not. So that is a data sufficiency question. Basically, the question is, the data that is given to me, is it sufficient enough to solve this particular question? If it's sufficient, like then which one do I need? Or if it's like a combination of both that is needed to solve it, or is it like even after taking everything, I'm unable to solve it? In that case, it's not sufficient. The data provided is not sufficient. So that is basically the data sufficiency portion. Now, data sufficiency questions do come in SNAP. Of these, arithmetic is actually a bigger focus point, and modern math, I would say, because arithmetic, say, like every other OMET exam, arithmetic is where most of the questions come from. So if you're preparing for SNAP, you should be focusing on arithmetic first and then do the other things. We also have this other video in our channel where we basically discuss the attempt strategies As in, like, if you're someone who's aiming to score well in Snap, what should be your attempt strategy? How much should you be attempting? What should be the accuracy? Which section you should be doing first, or something like that? All of that is discussed. So if you are a serious Snap aspirant, do check that out. And also check out our Cracku courses. We have a Snap and NMAT ka bundle, where basically we train you for every Snap and NMAT question, every kind of question, the questions that you can be expect, the questions that you can actually expect in exams like SNAP and NMAT. So do check it out. And thank you all for joining in. We'll see you guys in the next one.